Joseph, let's start with the Bully XL, because that's what's been in the news. Actually, some of the laws kick in today. There's a crackdown. I love the headline. They call them beasts. Must be kept on a lead and muzzled in public. Breeding, selling and abandoning the dogs are also illegal after a spate of attacks. But there's lots involved in this. So when is it starting today or is it tomorrow? Tell us about that.
Coming in phases, Trisha, and good evening for the last time in 2023 to you and all the viewers, listeners. The ban was inevitable. Fatal attacks publicised in the media. And while not all of those related to XL bullies, a couple clearly, and looking at the data to try to figure out if it is about XL bullies is a bit of a head scratcher. But I have to say the politicians did not wait around to find out. The rise in popularity of XL bullies meant that they are overrepresented among what people might regard as possibly not the right type of owners, although I don't want to sound like I'm prejudiced. I don't have a view on it. But at the same time, there has been this spike in attacks, fatal attacks this year, across the board, around 20, which is more than 3 times the usual yearly figures that it's been bobbing around. But that does coincide, of course it does, with that massive spike of about 50% in dog ownership across the UK around the time of COVID. Of course, that didn't just mean more dogs. It meant more imported dogs. It meant more dogs from questionable origins, puppy farms, all that type of stuff. And of course, you know, whether they make for traumatized puppies and perhaps worse dogs, I don't know. I'm sure people like the RSPCA or experts, which I am patently not in this area, would have a view on it. There is a question as to whether just because a dog is strong, is it more dangerous per se? Well, not necessarily more prone to attacking, but if a dog is, you know, if you think about it really, if it's physically capable of killing somebody, then that should be looked at clearly. The law kicks in today with regard to muzzling dogs in public and being on a lead. I think that's sensible for anything that's potentially a lethal weapon. We're not talking about these dogs being banned and put down necessarily. From the 1st of February, all dogs must be registered. Well, that gives people who haven't seen the news over the past few months bubbling along, which must have been inevitable and very visible to any XL bully owners. Well, they've got a month to get their act together administratively. They will basically join the register of only 4 other breeds of dogs. And this is probably something I have a bit of a problem with. There are only 4 breeds of dogs in the Dangerous Dogs Act, which attract this registration requirement. And they are actually the Dangerous Dogs Act, or these sections, they were brought in, Trisha, specifically to deal with fighting dogs. So we're talking about a type of Japanese fighting dog called a Tosa. I haven't seen it. I looked it up. It doesn't look particularly vicious, but apparently
they are.
It's a real thing. And pit bull terriers were the first among the first 2 dogs added to that. But what you didn't have was looking, for example, at a dog which is of a certain size or of a certain temperament. I have to say, in Europe, for example, you have a situation where these types of dogs, where many, many dogs form part of that list, and owners have to prove with dog awareness or dog tuition classes or subject to tests. I think that type of thing, if a dog's over 15 kilograms, for example, and it's capable of killing irrespective of the temperament or what it's known for as fighting. And let's remember, these XL bullies, they're not specifically fighting dogs that our existing legislation was formed for. Well, if that's what it's about, why don't we have more sweeping legislation which doesn't just target them, and say that you have to neuter them by a certain date, which is what's going to happen with XL bullies, but actually look at things in the round. Actually, the RSPCA agree with me on this. They say that you shouldn't just be looking at breeds. It's short-sighted. Look at owners. What will happen when XL bullies die out or become less fashionable or whatever?
Well, there'll be another sort of There'll be another sort of dog, and there are reports of apparently every XL bully owner who's applied to keep their dog has been accepted so far under a new exemption scheme. 349 permits to allow them to remain on the streets. Still processing another 3,700. They've got to pay for it.